A deputy constable fired after a video of his encounter with two men goes viral. The man who recorded this reached out to RTV6 for help. He says he wants answers and for the department to be held accountable. Working for you, RTV6's Megan Santorum has more of the video and found out what your rights are if you're in a similar situation.
You don't have the right to run this.
I got my right to do anything I want to do. I'm a police officer.
A cell phone video shows tense moments between a Lawrence Township deputy constable and two men in a car.
Get your driver's license out.
You can't state
show
the
me a
suspicion.
driver's license. That's all.
The video was recorded Tuesday outside of the Nordstrom rack on 82nd Street. The men in the car say they were racially profiled.
He watched the clerk bag everything for us, and he watched us push two carts out. So he wasn't suspicious. He just wanted to act.
But you didn't pull me over. Get the license out, or I'll hit for a backup.
The men asked what they did wrong, but didn't really get an answer. So they kept recording the whole 17-minute ordeal.
If you want to prove something, or if you want anything, like anything that I have no control over, as far as me having a conflict with somebody that has authority, I'm definitely, and that's somebody being a police officer, I'm definitely going to record it.
A few minutes later, an IMPD officer responded as backup and told the men they were free to go. Lawrence Township Constable Terry Burns would not identify the deputy in this video, but he tells us he has been fired for his actions. The men involved say that's not enough.
No constable called me. Nobody from Lawrence called me, apologized.
Working for you, Megan Santorum, RTV6.
Now, we showed this video to a retired Indiana State Police trooper. James White says you are not required to show your ID if the deputy has no reasonable suspicion or probable cause. He says in this case, there was none. He also says the constable should have provided his badge number and name. White tells us this appears to be an instance of profiling.
Shut up. Why don't you shut up? I'm not talking to you.
Tonight at 6, you're hearing from the passenger who recorded an off-duty constable now fired from his job. That constable confronted two Nordstrom Rack customers, calling them suspicious, but they claim that confrontation happened for no reason.
Tonight at 6 o'clock, our own Steve Jefferson is at Nordstrom on East 82nd Street with even more surprising video in this case. Steve?
The passenger and the driver posted that video saying they wanted people to know what happened to them here outside Nordstrom Rack. But there's other video they want you to see too.
I got my rights to do anything I want to do. I'm a police officer.
This heated exchange between off-duty Lawrence Township Constable Daryl Jones and two Nordstrom Rack customers cost Jones his badge. It happened as passenger Aaron Joseph and his cousin left the 82nd Street store.
I'm stopping you because you're suspicious.
Why are we suspicious?
Well, what'd you come back around for?
The constable, according to the customers, never explained the so-called suspicious behavior and threatened to take them to jail.
Get your driver's license.
Read your badge. I'm asking you.
There was nothing suspicious about what we did. Nothing that caused any eyes to even really be on us.
Aaron also recorded with his cell phone while inside the store. As they pay for their items, video shows Constable Jones standing guard.
He followed us out of the store, and the video speaks for itself from that point.
Eventually, a Metro officer responded as backup, and after hearing both sides.
Appreciate you, boss.
You guys are good to go.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
It is what it is. I mean, we all know what it is. It's profiling from the beginning.
Aaron Joseph and the driver are talking to an attorney about what happened to them here outside Nordstrom Rack. On the Crime Beat, I'm Steve Jefferson.
Steve, thank you.
Now, many states have stop and identify laws requiring people to identify themselves when police have reasonable suspicion.
In fact, 24 states have this law, and Indiana is one of them. But how do you determine if they have reasonable suspicion? Well, you can politely ask the officers if they're detaining you or if you're free to go. If they allow you to go, you do not have to identify yourself.
Now, if you are detained, you'll be required by law to identify yourself or risk arrest. But here's the thing, police are not required to inform you that you can leave. You must ask.
I hope this finds you well. Ever heard the phrase stop and frisk or Terry stop? Well, the case today is where it comes from. A Terry stop allows law enforcement to stop an individual and frisk them for weapons without probable cause. Today's case is Terry versus Ohio, decided in 1968. Here are the facts. A detective in Cleveland was patrolling downtown when he noticed two men, Terry and Chilton. The two kept walking back and forth between one particular store and a corner where they would confer. A third man was also seen by Officer McFadden on one of the meeting occasions. McFadden, believing the men were casing the joint, approached them and asked for their IDs. The men began to be evasive. McFadden decided to spin Terry against the wall and pat him down. He felt what seemed to be a gun and ordered the men into the store. The pat down of Terry was on his outer garments only. In the store, McFadden took a revolver out of Terry's coat and found another gun in the coat of one of the other men. They were both charged with carrying a concealed weapon. The court had to decide whether police can stop and frisk an individual they suspect to be armed and dangerous without probable cause to arrest. The court ended up holding that under the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, a police officer may stop a suspect on the street and frisk them without probable cause to arrest if the officer has a reasonable suspicion that the person has committed or is committing or is about to commit a crime and has a reasonable belief that that person may be armed and presently dangerous. The court had to balance the protection of the Fourth Amendment against the danger to the public or bystanders or cops themselves. Remember, the Fourth Amendment protects a person from unreasonable searches and seizures. Here, there is both a seizure, which is the stop, and a search, which is the frisk. The court called a stop and frisk minimally intrusive, and the officer is allowed to conduct the stop and frisk as long as that officer suspects objectively that the person is armed and dangerous. Justice Douglas disagreed with the court and dissented, arguing that nothing less than probable cause can justify forcible detention of a person. My personal opinion is I agree with Justice Douglas. I think that probable cause should be required for every kind of stop. Again, my personal opinion, stop and frisk has taken a sinister approach in that individuals' liberties are routinely infringed upon through the use of stop and frisk. So you're probably wondering, where are they now? Well, unfortunately, I couldn't find any credible information on Terry. I did find a number of reports that reported him as being convicted of a sex crime years later, but I can't say that these reports are credible just because his name is so very common. Thanks for watching.